Hello and welcome back to Mississippi Family Homestead. I'm Scott,
And I'm Tina.
and we live on a homestead, of course, and we're not full-time homesteaders. We do have full-time jobs and almost full-time homestead also. One of the big things we like to do is raise chickens, and we've got how many chickens do we have?
Almost 30. Yeah.
So we've got quite a few chickens. That's Tina's hobby, and she really loves it and loves to research the chickens. And if you're getting into chickens, hopefully this will help you. And today we're going to talk about if you have sick or injured chickens and what you might want to do. And if you have something to add to it, feel free to drop a note in the chat and let us know. And if you're watching the replay of this and have something to add, something that worked or something that we said that may not have worked, and you'd like to give some other people some advice, just let us know in the chat. So we've got quite a few questions. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. One of the big questions that's asked is, my chicken is wheezing, gasping, and making gurgling sounds. What's wrong and what can I do?
Okay. So your chicken probably has some respiratory issues if that's happening. There are times when they can get something kind of stuck in their throat, and you may want to kind of gently massage their throat and their crop and see if you can kind of get them to quit that gargling and coughing. But you also they could have bronchitis just like we get bronchitis, and they really need to be put in an isolated warm place, so so they're warm. And you'll see mostly when this happens, it's in the fall or the winter time when they get like that. It might indicate that your coop is getting too wet, too moist, and they don't have enough ventilation in their coop. So it's a good idea to make sure you clean that coop and keep it from being a lot of moisture in there, especially in the wintertime or the spring season when it's a lot of rain. You don't want the chickens to get too wet in there. It can cause issues with their breathing.
All right. Another thing I've noticed that sometimes you can see a chicken panting real heavily, sometimes light, but sometimes real heavy. Is that normal?
That is normal, especially in the summertime. They'll pant just like a dog or a cat will, and they'll kind of hold their wings out like this, like they're trying to cool themselves off. So in the summertime, just make sure that you're providing good ventilation for them. Make sure you're providing good cool water for them, and I think we have a video about how to keep them cool in the summertime.
Yeah, I'll put a link to that below. But,
but they're gonna open their mouth and pant just like a dog or a cat would if they're really, really hot, and they're usually okay. Most of the time when you want to that is concern is probably in the wintertime when they're not supposed to be hot and panting like that. And again, it's probably some respiratory issue that they may have, and you need to isolate them and get them warm, and see if you can clear their crop just a little bit. Cool water. Give them some electrolytes if you have them. They make some hydrogen like this, or they make little packets of electrolytes that you can use to try to get some energize them and get them up so they're really energized and
I
feeling
noticed
better.
if you live in the South, we are outside. That's why there's some bugs flying around. But if you live in the South like we do, so that's going to be a common thing, right?
Yeah, it is a very common thing, especially in the South.
And especially in this hot summer.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes your chicken might get hurt, may get in a fight or something. So if your chicken is bleeding, what can you do about that?
Okay, so
Put a Band-Aid on it or what?
well, you're gonna apply if there's a certain place, look over them carefully. Kind of try to figure out where they're bleeding from. Put gentle pressure, just like you would, to a person or a child. You're just gonna apply gentle pressure and see if you can get that bleeding to stop. And you want to keep it calm and warm. Again, you may want to isolate it if it's injured, and kind of keep it to itself for a little while till it heals. So, it's if it's bad, you may want to see if a vet will see it. It's really hard to get vets to see chickens. So sometimes you have to just kind of come up with your own thing to treat your chickens sometimes. I think I called the vet before and I was like, can you look at my chicken? And they was like, a chicken? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, I guess,
I didn't know any vets around here would look at a chicken.
Well, they told me they would, but I never did take it. So, I mean, if y'all know of any vets that actually look at chickens, let us know. We'd love to hear that. But you just don't normally hear of people taking their chickens to the vet. That's usually for your dog or your cat. So it becomes necessary to, do your own thing with your chickens sometimes.
All right, so hopefully you never have to go through this, but another asked question is if something attacks your chicken, what do you do in that case?
Okay, well, another thing that you might want to do if they're bleeding or attacked and there's a visible injury, you can make your own saline solution for your chickens. You want to boil 4 cups of water and put in 2 teaspoons of salt into that water and let it cool off. But you can rinse a wound with that, and you can also use the saline solution that they make for a dog on a wound for a chicken, but you can also make your own. So you want to rinse that wound, especially if it's really heavy bleeding, and just kind of get to the bottom of what's going on with it, and the actual area that's bleeding, and apply clean, cool cloth, and you can try to bandage your chicken. It's kind of hard because they're chickens. They have feathers, and the best way that you can, especially if it's on their leg, it'll be easier, to bandage them. But if it's their wing or something like that, it's kind of hard to put a bandage on there. So you'll probably just have to kind of do the best you can. And sometimes when these animals attack like that, there's really nothing you can do, and they'll wind up injured. So the best protection is to make sure that you have it fixed where a predator can't get into your coop.
That's kind of the sad thing about having a homestead. If you, sadly, that's one of the things that happen is some predator will come in there and attack a chicken. And
I mean, I know we had raccoons get the baby chickens. They won't really mess with grown chickens, but they did get my baby chickens, and
they do climb. So don't think a little fence will keep them out.
Right.
If you're around a lot of raccoons, or
and
any predators probably will climb.
Yeah. Now foxes, they'll dig under, or something like that more than they'll climb. But those raccoons, they'll climb, and they're really looking for the food and the eggs. But they'll kill your babies too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we know that too well.
Yep, we do.
All right. What if my hen is straining but no egg is coming out? Does that mean she's egg bound?
Probably so. So I've had some success with that, with taking getting a little tub of warm water and adding some Epsom salt to it, just like we would if it was us, to soak our foot or something. And put that, there comes my free range chickens now. Put their bottom down in that warm water and hold them in there for a little bit. It's kind of hard. You're going to have to either create something where they can't get out, or hold them in there and let them soak in that for up to 30 minutes. And that'll help them just loosen up and get that egg out sometimes. And you probably want to isolate them too if they're having that issue, especially if you've got a rooster, so he won't mess with your hen while she's egg bound like that. Sometimes that works, and you can get her unegg bound again. It's hard to find a vet. So if you could find a vet to look at them, if that doesn't work, you can do that. But do make sure that you isolate her, and let her soak in that warm Epsom salt. You could, if you wanted to bring her in the house and try to put her in a warm shower, you could.
You could put a chicken in a shower?
Yeah, you can.
I didn't know that.
Not drown her, but just let her sit in the shower where she can get some of that steam and warm water.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you don't get her wet.
You just put a sticker in. Yeah, just the steam. Yep.
All right. What if there's blood in a chicken's egg? or on the shell? Should
Okay.
you worry about that?
Usually if there's just small dots of blood, that's normal in your chicken's egg. Now, I have had an egg before where you would break it and it'd be completely bloody. We're distracted over here by our chickens. They're catching bugs and stuff. Um, but it'll be bloody, and just one time is okay. But if you keep seeing that, then there's something wrong. I've never had one that just continually had a bloody egg like that. But it has happened, one or two times where they would just have a bloody egg. If there's little dots of blood in there, it's fine. Nothing's wrong with your chicken. It's normal. If they have blood on the outside of the shell, it's okay, maybe once or twice. But if it's continual, they've probably got a little bit of an injury, and you may want to isolate them from the other chickens. And again, soak them in some Epsom salt water, and see if you can kind of heal them up, so they're not bleeding. But occasional blood is okay.
All right, all kinds of animals act different. So, what if your chicken is kind of going on his own and not hanging out with other chickens, kind of acting strange
Yeah,
like
so all chickens have personalities. Now, I do have some chickens that don't want to associate with the other chickens. They like to be off by themselves, and that's perfectly fine as long as they're eating and drinking. But if they're just moping around, acting lethargic, like not eating with their head hanging down, then there's probably something wrong with them, and you may want to see if you can get them and isolate them. They may have a respiratory issue, something going on. So if you can see about that, that would be great. But if they're isolated by themselves, they're perfectly fine. Our cat's coming up here to talk to us too. So yeah.
All right, so what about when your chicken is limping? What can you do about that?
Okay, so sometimes they can get an injury on the bottom of their foot, and that's called bumblefoot. So to prevent that, just make sure there's nothing really sharp, in the yards, or especially if they're free range, you may not can help it, but in their pen, make sure there's nothing sharp that can cut the bottom of their foot. And you can put medicine on the bottom of their foot. You can put an antibiotic cream, but make sure that it's for kids and not adults. The chickens will be better if it's for kids and not something for adults. You can use petroleum jelly, Vaseline, on the bottom of their foot also, and maybe kind of see if you can wrap it a little bit, and that'll help it. Just look for injuries on the bottom of their foot. Now, I had one the other day that was limping, and I picked her up and wasn't examining her, and somehow she injured her toe, and she was actually missing her toenail. So I just kind of washed that off with some saline solution and put a little dab of Vaseline on her foot, and her toenail seems to be growing back. I don't know what happened. I don't know how she injured herself, but she did. But she seems to be okay now, and she stopped limping. Sometimes, though, they can have a broken hip or a broken foot, and it's kind of hard to get that fixed on a chicken. I did have a chicken one time, and she actually did look like she broke her leg or her hip. And what I did with her is I isolated her completely from the other chickens. I put her in a small pen by herself, made sure she had food and water, and she did. After about 6 months, she was much better. She could walk around. She just got better, and she was fine. I let her back out with the other chickens, and she was just fine.
So if you have a lot of chickens, it's probably a good idea to have like a little rescue area.
It is. You need a rescue area for those chickens where you can isolate a sick one, if you need to.
All right, so what about if your chicken has diarrhea? Is this a real serious problem?
Occasionally they will have that, and it's okay. But if you're noticing it continually in your chicken, you want to do the same thing. Isolate it, give them some electrolytes, maybe feed them plain food, especially if they're free range. They could have gotten into, as they're telling, a bug or something that made them sick. And you want to isolate them, give them just plain layer pellets for a while. You might can give them some protein, like cook their eggs, give them some protein, give them a better diet, and see if that helps them where they're not having that issue anymore.
Okay, so my chicken's crop feels hard, sour, or empty. So
Okay,
explain that.
so yeah, so sometimes they can get a sick crop. So if you don't know, when chickens eat, it goes down in their little crop,
So
and
to explain some of us, what is the crop?
it's up under their neck, and
Okay.
like every bird has a crop. Not just chickens, but every bird there is, and their food goes down in their crop, and their food sits in their crop, and it digests their food. Really, it breaks it up because they eat a lot of seeds and stuff, and it breaks their food up, and then it goes on down into their stomach to digest. But it has to sit in that crop, and that's why we give them. They need like some oyster shells or something like that, so it can break up their food in there. Sometimes they eat stuff that they really shouldn't be eating, and they need to be able to break that down. But if you'll gently massage their crop like that, and try to get their food kind of broken up for them, they've probably just eaten something that they shouldn't have. I don't see that a lot in my chickens because they're not free range. I think you
I was
see
going to
that.
ask, is it more of a problem if
Yeah,
they're free range?
I think it is. I think
You
it's
can't
more
control what they eat. Then.
right as much as you can when they're just in their pen. So if that happens, just again isolate them, give them plain food. So they're not eating something strange. They'll need some protein. Maybe give them some oyster shells or some calcium supplements so they can get to feeling better. And again, some electrolytes or some hydrogen.
All right, what if you see little tiny, maybe bugs or tiny things on the chickens? Is that a big problem?
So one of the signs of that is that you probably got some mites or some whatever the mites or the lice is what you can get on chickens. So you have some. They make this spray that you can spray on chickens. It's poultry spray, and if you see that on the chickens, you can first treat with this. But also, I know y'all probably get tired of me talking about the diatomaceous earth, but it does kill the mites. And if you can sprinkle that in their coop and in the area where they are, it'll help kill those mites. And make sure you put some of that in their dust, just out in their pen, wherever they're taking a dust bath at, and it'll help kill those mites and get rid of them. And sometimes the chickens can get what they call scaly mites on their legs, and you want to get some of this spray and try to spray that on there and kill those mites. And that'll once you get that off of them, make sure that you spray down their area where they're roosting. Put some diatomaceous earth, clean it real good. You want to just kind of try to get rid of those lice and those mites so they don't have to deal with those anymore.
So, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So what's up? So can chickens get worms like dogs?
Yeah,
and
they
stuff?
can. So they make some dewormer for chickens, and a lot of people say you can feed them pumpkin and it'll help deworm them, but I've always gotten some real dewormer, and you can order that off of Amazon, or your supply store usually has that for chickens. Usually you can put it in their water, or you can catch them and administer it to them in a little syringe. But just remember not to eat those eggs if you deworm them. You don't want to eat those eggs for the next few weeks after you deworm your chickens.
All right. What about if your chickens are pecking each other, maybe pulling the feathers out? I've noticed we've seen that and seen the results of that. Is there anything you can do about it?
Yeah. So make sure if you have a hen, if you have a rooster, he's gonna, so you're gonna see some missing feathers on the back of your chickens sometimes. Make sure you have enough chickens to your rooster, my hens to your rooster. So the ratio is 1 to 10. 12 is better. Just so there's not just one hen and one rooster, because you'll have that really bad. If you have just hens, you'll also have a pecking order, and sometimes you'll have a hen that the other chickens will just pick on and pull their feathers out. And again, isolation for a little bit anyway. They're social animals. They want to be together. They don't want to be isolated by themselves. But if you can isolate them for a little bit just till they get better and not have so many feathers missing. Also, in the fall time, you're going to see some molting. So that's normal for them to lose their feathers in the fall time. And sometimes in the spring, they'll do a molting season too. And you'll have a lot of those feathers falling out and going everywhere. But that's normal behavior. But if you see a really, really bad bald spot on your hen and you have a rooster, you could actually get these things called saddles and put that on them. And it'll keep, just protect their back until it can get better and keep that rooster off of them.
And one popular question that I've seen on the internet is just kind of it's a vague question. My chicken just looks terrible.
Yeah.
Like the feathers are ruffled. It just looks bad. Is there anything? Is that a sign of something? Is there anything you can do?
It's gonna look bad if it's in the fall time because that's molting season. But sometimes if they're lethargic, they're not eating. That's a problem. You need to make sure that they're eating. If they look bad and they're eating and they're acting fine and happy and running around the pen, then they're probably perfectly okay. They may be one of the hens that gets picked on a lot. And that happens. They have a pecking order. They're going to have a top dominant hen and a hen that everybody picks on. And that's just kind of goes with the, with raising chickens.
So that's just kind of nature, huh?
Yeah, it really is.
What about if a fox or raccoon got in the chicken coop and it didn't kill them, but it traumatized them, and they're just like in shock? Is there anything you can do there?
So put them in a place where they're really isolated, just for a few days. If they seem to be okay, you want to watch them and make sure that they don't seem injured or have any injuries on them. They could have some internal injuries, and there's not really anything you can do about that, but you want to isolate them, give them some hydrogen or some electrolytes, give them some treats. They love mealworms, anything like that. You want to distract their mind from whatever happened. So usually chickens love it when you give them treats, and so you're kind of distracting them, keeping them their mind occupied. If you're giving them treats, talking to them and letting them know that it's okay, isolate them for a few days, and they're usually fine.
How do you know if they had internal injuries? Can you tell?
Well, they just kind of get kind of droopy, and they may lay down and not want to get up, and, just kind of feel, you can tell they're lethargic, and they won't eat and they won't drink. It's okay if they do that for the first few hours, but they should be happy about having some, if you're giving them treats and they're not wanting to eat those treats, then, something's probably wrong, especially after a couple of hours after the trauma. So, okay. They're not like us. They don't remember, forever what happened to them. So, if you can just isolate them and look at them for a while. Now, again, if they're bleeding, you want to apply that clean cloth and a pressure, wash with the saline solution, see how bad the injury is. And, again, you can't get them to a vet usually, but you can wrap it and clean it with saline solution, and keep it clean is the main thing if they have a wound, see if you can get them over that wound.
So now if you are having to treat these chickens with some kind of medicines like this or other medicines, can you still eat the eggs?
No, you don't need to eat the eggs at all. If you could get an antibiotic for them from the vet, don't eat their eggs after you're giving them any kind of medication for about 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 4, for that matter.
And then the medicines probably may have your warning sign.
Yeah, it probably does.
So, if you were making a first aid kit for your chickens,
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
what
So
would you put in it?
I would go ahead and make me some saline solution. Which, if you make a saline solution, you may want to replace it. Like once a month. I feel like if it's sitting there, it might get old, especially if you make your own. If you buy it, just make sure you keep it put up somewhere in the house where it's not sitting outside in the hot weather. And if it is, just make sure you redo it once a month. But again, you can take 4 cups of water, boiling water, and put 2 teaspoons of salt in it. And that will make your saline solution, and you can pour that on any kind of wound that they may have. Also, this stuff right here, it is, and I ordered this off of Amazon. If you're replaying this, we'll leave a link for that. But it says for wounds and pecking injuries, bumblefoot, and it won't dye their feathers, and it doesn't sting when it goes on. But if you'll just spray that on the wounds, that could help treat them also. If you don't have this, it's okay. Try to use some Vaseline and put on there. I wouldn't put a whole lot of antibiotic cream on there, just a dot, because they might peck it, and it's not good for them to, peck that. But if you can find some of this, you can spray it on there. It's called antimicrobial. I can't say that word. Can you say that word? Poultry care. It's healing aid and skin repair for chickens. And I did order that off of Amazon.
You can tell that's medicine with the big word there.
Yeah. I don't know. A vet must have invented that.
Speaking of, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so, and then I've got this poultry spray that I put on them. But again, diatomaceous earth, y'all, will kill mites and bugs and stuff. But this is for a spray to kill the bugs. It's called Primo Poultry Spray. It says protects pets, birds, poultry, and coops from mites, fleas, ticks, and lice. Which I don't think I've ever seen a tick on a chicken. I have seen mites and lice. But
can a chicken eat ticks?
Yes, they love bugs. They love any kind of bug. They'll eat your tick. Actually, in our yard, we don't have a whole lot of ticks. We do have a few chickens that free range. I think I have about 4 of them, and they free range. But we don't have a whole lot of ticks in our yard because they free range in our yard. The rest of my 25 chickens, they don't. They don't free range. So.
And yeah, they do kind of keep, our son loves them free ranging because they keep the bugs down in the yard. And,
they do.
And they cover a pretty wide range. So you were talking about a vet. So if you do have a vet that will take chickens, at what point do you need to see the vet, and what point do you if treat them at home?
Yeah. Use your judgment just like you would with a dog or a cat. I know people love pets like we do. And, if they're bleeding profusely and, you can get them to a vet, do that. If they're just looking like they're going to just die, and you can't get them up, you can't get them to eat for days, then they probably need to go to a vet. Just keep that in mind. So... And then the electrolytes. Keep you some electrolytes on hand. Hydrohen or electrolytes for your chickens in your first aid kit. Some bandages, clean bandages that you can use. Our cat's coming to visit.
This is Bam. Say hey, Bam.
Yeah.
Oh, Bam's a real heavy cat.
Yeah.
We'll set Bam right here.
Yeah, he loves the chickens. He'll go in the chicken pen with them and talk to them. He's never attacked a chicken, though. He'll just go lay down with them.
Some people may say that's awful to let the cat in the chicken coop, but
he don't.
Yeah, he's a real calm cat, and he don't. He may knock a few things over, but other than that, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, like weather-related things. We're just getting out of a hot summer, so I've noticed like the chickens are panting and they're spreading their wings. What can you do about that? Is that a heat stroke?
No, it's not. It's not a heat stroke. They're perfectly fine. They are just hot. really, is what they are. They're just panting and they're hot. You can get I love to get a solar fan, especially if you don't. Most people don't have electricity that goes into their chicken pen, so if you could invest in getting a little small solar fan for the chickens, they love it, and it helps keep them cool. You know, especially in the summertime, the fall time. It'll keep them cool.
And the fan didn't cost a lot, did that little solar
No,
fan?
no, it's just a little solar fan. It has two little fans on it, and it has a solar panel. And we put that up on the roof and kind of.
There's right behind her. Let's
Yeah.
see, what camera is that? It's this camera.
Yeah.
Right in that window there
Yep.
is a fan that blows in, and it's got a little thing on top of the chicken coop.
Yeah, it's a solar panel, and it works great. I use that for the when I have an isolated chicken. If they get sick, I have an area in there for the chicken, and for my baby chickens, I'll put them in there in the summertime, and they need some air, so we put that fan in there, and it keeps them cool in the summertime.
All right, I noticed in the wintertime, and I saw this question also, that if your chicken's comb turns black, is that frostbite?
Yeah, it more than likely is. So just make sure that you have an area, especially if you're up north, where your chickens can be completely shut in the wintertime. And they're okay, especially if you have a number of hens and roosters together. They'll keep each other warm. But if you only have a few, you want to make sure you have some good bedding in there. Even a little bit of insulation on those walls will keep them from getting so cold in the wintertime. And you'll notice it a lot on the roosters because their combs are kind of way up high. Actually, my rooster has some of that frostbite on him where his comb has turned black. And if you'll put some Vaseline petroleum jelly on there, that'll kind of help them to get rid of that. Also, you can spray this stuff on there, and that'll help them also if you see any frostbite on their comb or their wattle during the winter time.
All right, now I've seen results of this, but like if your rooster is hurting your hens, and I've noticed on some of ours their feathers are coming off their back.
Yeah,
So is there anything you can do about that?
Yeah, you can get some little saddles. They sell those on Amazon, and they also sell them at some of the supply stores. And you put it around their wings. That's what it looks like. It's a little saddle, and that'll help protect them from those roosters. But roosters aren't hurting the hens. That's a normal process, a normal mating process for those roosters and the hens. You know, you don't have to have roosters. You can just have hens if you want to. The only purpose of having roosters is that they protect, your hens, especially if they free range. And then if you want fertile eggs, to have more chickens down the road, then, you do want to have a rooster, but you don't have to have a rooster.
And you may not want a rooster if you live in a subdivision or something. You
you
probably wouldn't want a rooster because your neighbors aren't going to like that.
No,
they
they're
may not
not.
like chickens as much as you do.
That's right.
People have been asking about putting apple cider vinegar in the water, chicken's water. Is that necessary?
It's not necessary, but they don't have to have that. But I think that it helps them. I actually put apple cider vinegar in the water for baby chickens when they're born. You just put a little bit, like a teaspoon to, like maybe a quart of water, and I give that to them. My chickens have never gotten sick, and that's what I feed to them when they're little and till they get maybe about 6 weeks old. I put apple cider vinegar in their water instead of vitamins that you can buy at the store. I hear several other homesteaders do that also. They have the same opinion that I do, that it does help them and it helps them stay well. Apple cider vinegar has a lot of, even for humans, it has a lot of good things in it, like natural things to help you stay healthy. You hear that all the time. So I don't think it'll hurt your chickens if you want to give it to them. It's certainly not gonna hurt them. Just don't overfeed them apple cider vinegar. You know,
don't
you're
want
not
to
gonna,
overdose them.
no, don't overdose them. You know, just a few drops in a gallon of water is fine. It'll just help them. If you don't want to use apple cider vinegar, that's fine too. So just don't. I mean, you don't want them to drink a whole thing of apple cider vinegar. Just add it to their water.
So is it just a touch?
Yeah, just a touch in their water.
All right. And by the way, if you have any other questions, let us know in the chat. And I want to thank everybody for hanging out this long. And excuse me. The final question is, do I need to vaccinate backyard chickens?
So when you buy baby chickens from the hatchery, a lot of times they'll offer a vaccination. All of my chickens, I don't think I've ever had them vaccinated. Like the ones I may have bought some from the supply store, they may have been vaccinated, but sometimes they're not.
Can't you choose whether or not you want them vaccinated?
Yeah, you can.
When
You
they're
can choose.
young?
I've never seen a result of why you would vaccinate them or not vaccinate them. I mean, that's just a personal thing. It's up to you.
And you might also check. I don't know if there are any state laws or something that may require you to vaccinate them.
They could require you to vaccinate them.
Always check your local laws.
So here's Bam again. He's come to visit.
Sorry, Bam.
Okay, Bam.
All right, so that's all the questions we have. We want to thank you for watching this video. Also, if you have any questions, please let us know in the chat. And I want to thank everybody for watching. We've got a lot more videos on our channel, Mississippi Family Homestead. So if you want to see some of those, talking about raising chickens, also having a homestead. If you're starting a homestead and need some more information, feel free. Hopefully those videos will help you.
Yeah. So please subscribe and watch some of those other videos.
And hit the like button. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.